Hi, I'm April, and I want to share with you my Hope Hospice story. In 2017, I moved my entire family across the country to come back home to Texas so that I could be close by to take care of my father, who was beginning to decline in health. Shortly after I arrived, cancer came knocking on his door. And very quickly into his cancer diagnosis and cancer therapy, his oncologist wisely suggested that we bring in hospice. That was one of the best pieces of advice that we could have ever been given, and I'm so grateful for it. Because we didn't wait until the end was near. We got on hospice right away, and because of that, my dad had the best care for not just the last days of his life, but the last months of his life. He had a chaplain, he had a volunteer who spent hours with him, he had nurses, he had a caseworker. The most important thing is that we were given the gift of time. We brought hospice in long before Dad's final days, and because of that, we had the best final days with Dad. And when Dad's time did finally come, I can honestly say we were ready, and Dad was ready, and that brought us all a lot of peace. Ever since Dad passed away, I've been wanting to find a way to give back to Hope Hospice because they gave so much to me and my family. And so I'm simply sharing my story with you because I believe in the power of storytelling, and I know that when we share our stories, we are able to impart wisdom and hope and inspiration to others. But it's not just my story that you are hearing. We're going to hear from other people who have also been impacted by Hope Hospice. Lean in and listen to their stories too, and I hope that in listening to them, you really do discover why hope matters.
When Mom arrived home, she was brought in by the ambulance crew, and we had our glasses in hand, and we said, "It's happy hour. It's happy hour. Welcome home." We wanted her to feel, loved and cared for.
Being 3 hours away, and I was working when I got the call that I needed to come that day, I picked up our son at school and got there just in time. And I was thankful that we had that kind of knowledge.
To be able to tell the family, look, this is what's going on, and this is what you can expect. It was a gift to us to be able to be there with her. So Mother passed, and then about 16 months later is when my father passed. And we didn't really see a lot of his health problems until after she passed. We noticed that his health started to decline. I think he really missed my mother. He missed her terribly. He just didn't know how to cope, I asked him to go to counseling. Counseling for me was key. I can't say enough good things about the Grief Center for Hope, because what they were able to do was give me a grief education that I was unaware of.
I didn't go into it right away. Everyone else did, and I guess it was something that I felt, well, it's her parents. As long as I'm there to support her, then maybe I don't need that. But then I came to realize I did. And I relate it to being on the airplane when they tell you, hey, before you put your mask on someone else, you need to put it on yourself. And I couldn't be a help to her until I realized that I need to take care of myself as well.
So I've been a volunteer with Hope since '98, and Jay has been on the board since, I think, 2013.
2013, I think, yeah.
And so he's been on the board. He had a 2-year stint as the president.
So I think being involved and having the opportunity to work with her in something like this I really enjoyed it. It's been a great experience.
A year and a half after my sister died, I went to the grief program, which was so helpful. Grief has its own timetable. It takes as long as it takes. And from all the years of hospice training and experience I'd had, I knew I was in trouble and that I was stuck. So I did the grief program when it was first started. Hope matters because, first of all, it is hope. We are not, as an American culture, raised to accept death as part of life. And so when the time comes, when a family is faced with someone who is not going to live a whole lot longer, they don't know what to do.
When you reach that point in your life, or a loved one reaches that point in their life, it really is one of the most difficult times that you'll face.
And so we provide the support and the education that is nowhere else to be found. We have the grief camps, and the grief camps are crucial. We have a children's camp, we have a family camp, and they are never charged a penny for that experience. And it's $100 a day per person, and that money has to come from somewhere.
I lost my dad at 5. Grief counseling wasn't a thing. To have these camps for kiddos to go to and be, not only to talk about things, but to be around other kids that have been through the same thing, to know that they're not alone is phenomenal. And I feel like if I would have had that as a kid, I could have grieved better. I could have known that I'm not alone in this, that I'm not the only one that's lost a loved one. So I made a big change from pediatrics to hospice because my mom was diagnosed with leukemia a little over 2 years ago. So she had to go through hospice herself. So seeing how much of an impact they did and how incredible those nurses were, it made me realize that that's something I wanted to do. I wanted to give it a try, and I wanted to make that kind of impact on people. So unfortunately, we did lose my mom to leukemia. It was tough. My mom is my best friend. And my kids were really, really close to her. My husband works out of town a lot, and my mom was my go-to person. So needless to say, the kiddos had a pretty hard time adjusting to everything. I've got 2 little ones, Brantley and Bristol, and I was getting some calls from the school that, hey, Bristol's in the counseling office. She's saying she's just having a hard day. She's missing Mimi. So then I got in touch with Sarah, one of our phenomenal grief counselors, and Bristol started seeing her once a week, and within a month, I wasn't getting those calls from school anymore. Bristol would beg to go and see Miss Sarah, to go and play and talk about Mimi, and she learned how to accept things and how to adjust to things and learn that, you know what, Mimi's not coming back, but that's okay. She's got the memories with her. So I think our grief center it's just phenomenal. I can't even come up with words how amazing it is. I didn't have that when I was a kid, and I couldn't look at even pictures of my dad. I couldn't say his name because I didn't know how to process all those feelings. And Bristol knows that it's okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay to break down. But you know what? Let's go look at pictures of Mimi's, and let's remember all those good times together. And it's because of the grief center and the camps that have allowed her to do that and to process everything like she should.
I think for me, hearing anything regarding grief with children just strikes a chord with me personally, and it was kind of an eye-opener to hear that they provide camps and for kids and grief counseling, and not just what I had always envisioned hospice to be. So for me, I was feeling, wow, I wish that I had that opportunity when I was young. I think too is grief is not always defined by death. Grief can also be abandonment. And when I was growing up, my parents were divorced. I had the typical every other weekend relationship with my father. Having that loss of a father figure in my life, it was tough. But for me, I just then went into social work. I just really wanted to help kids that maybe had dealt with grief, but in different ways. So it was about a year of finding out when my biological father passed away, to finding out just little things about his estate. And it was brought to my attention of having a small amount of his estate given to me. And I had to process this, of what to do. I took a couple weeks to really ponder to how can I use this in a good way? How can I give back? I wanted to give the opportunity for kids that maybe not have the financial means to have therapy, to have camps, to bring in themselves or their families or their siblings, and to have those opportunities that are here in the community for them as a blessing. And I think that if I can take this small amount of money to be able to help families and do something and paying it forward and helping something that was negative that came out of my life to be positive on somebody else's.
Every dollar that you give to Hope Hospice will not only impact the people who will be able to pass on their terms, but also their families, because their families are going to need grief counseling and hope and support for the future. And every dollar that you give will impact them in ways that they never anticipated.
The grief camps are so important. In my own life, my father died when I was 4. And at that time, there was no such thing as grief camps for children or even grief counseling for children. And so I would encourage you to donate so that other young people and older people can learn to live and go forward without carrying that sadness with them all their lives.
Some of the things that we do are things that are unfunded services, like the bereavement camp, like the expenses associated with We Honor Vets program, like grief camps, like counseling. It just is so important that events are successful in raising the funds necessary to ensure that we can continue to do what we do as well as we do it.
This is the time that I ask that y'all reach into your hearts and really think about all of the families and all of the kids that y'all could help by making a donation. These kids, their parents don't ever have to pay a dime to help them go to these camps. And by y'all's donations, y'all are sending all of these children that wouldn't have this opportunity. Children like mine, my little girl.
Please join me and to help the gift that I want to give to these kids in our community to grow. Even if it's just $100, give them opportunities of counseling to camps so they can make a change and a difference in their lives and to help others. Match my gift. Help us to be able to help these kiddos. That's all I want, for these kids to have these opportunities that maybe they wouldn't have otherwise.
You've heard all of the stories. There's no denying how much of an impact Hope Hospice has on this community. But more importantly, you need to consider the fact that our stories may one day become your story. That's why you need to give. Give generously to Hope Hospice and give the gift of hope.